Yes, it's Murray Rose and I'm the Director of Children's Services for Darlington Borough Council. As a local authority, we recognised that a number of school improvement grants would come to an end. Some have been identified to end for March 2011. We also knew from things like the 21st Century Schools White Paper and all of the work which led up to that the climate was changing, that the move was towards more of a systems leadership for schools and for the local authority to have less of a direct intervention role with schools unless there was a real crisis or difficult situation. So we did some sort of future gazing around that and began to look at the services that we provided currently and the sorts of shape of services that we thought we would need to provide in the future. So that was the prompt for us to look at a different method of procuring and commissioning school improvement support. We employed previously a number of National Strategies consultants as well as some lead officers. They'd done a valuable piece of work. They'd helped schools to improve standards for a period, but they'd reached a period when probably they'd outlived their usefulness. As individuals, perfectly nice, decent people, but at the stage where could they take schools to the next phase of their development. What we did was make those staff redundant and instead use the funding to create a commissioning fund or a commissioning pot that schools could make applications to then commission provision which they felt would be more beneficial to them. Schools had got experience already of working across the system. Other funds had been delegated to them in clusters of schools, where the clusters of perhaps 5 schools or 10 schools had to work out how best to spend a collective pot of money. So the experience was there. What we did through this was take it one stage further and take it away from some of the extended schools activities into something a much sharper focused school improvement agenda. One of the activities that we did to help prepare schools for this was to ask schools to, all primary schools, to complete on a simple post-it note as of an exercise where they said these are all the things that they felt that they were really good at and that they could offer another school. And that was on a yellow post-it note. And then on a blue post-it note we asked all the schools then to identify what they felt they needed some help with, what was an area of weakness for them. Over the coffee break we were able to match up every yellow post-it note with a blue post-it note. So that was a simple demonstration to schools that the expertise in the main that they needed already existed within the local authority, but not within local authority officers, but within practitioners in schools. So the commissioning pot became a way to fund the support from one school to another, or for one school to lead an activity across a cluster of schools, 5, 10 schools, whatever that may be, to help raise standards across the borough. The programme has now been in operation for just under 2 years. We would say that the performance so far has been impressive, but there is still more work to be done. Standards have continued to rise across all key stages in the borough, even in those key stages where things have perhaps plateaued at a national level. So in one sense that's good. But there's more work to be done because schools will still sometimes, we have to quality assure, in effect, what the provision is that schools say that is good provision, because it may not always be as good as they think or may not be a transferable skill at this stage. The schools have to overcome some of their concerns about schools, neighbouring schools coming in and providing some support for them. It may have been easier if in some cases the school was in another authority or another part of the country, for instance. That may remove some of the potential embarrassment of them having to work with the school from down the road. However, more and more schools are applying to the fund, more and more schools are providing leadership across the piece. Where there have been difficulties in schools, it's been schools who've stepped in and taken the lead in trying to help those other schools resolve some of the difficulties that they've faced. So they've very effectively and better replaced many of the services that we would have tried to provide as a local authority previously.